burning cars and smashed windows. A small group of protesters dressed in black, their faces covered, armed with hammers and bricks.
The anger reaching a boiling point in the nation's capital after President Trump took the oath of office. Police in riot gear facing off against the protesters just 6 blocks from the inaugural parade.
Things turned violent here downtown.
I mean, look at that. Hello, America. They tried to warn us. The FBI had the very scary news that armed takeovers would commence all over the country. I even worried about the truth of that. And yet none of that seemed to happen. Well, I mean, we had the equivalent of 2 military divisions swooping into D.C. just to fight them off. And as I just showed you, boy, things got crazy. They set limousines on fire and broke... hang on. That would. Are you sure? Apparently that footage was from leftists 4 years ago during Trump's inauguration. Silly me. Today was not only largely peaceful, it was peaceful. But then again, this morning, Donald Trump barricaded himself in his office. He had to be drug out of the Oval Office by military SWAT. Hang on. He just left. I mean, he argued on the way out, or did he spit on the way? I'm being told in the end, President Trump didn't board himself in the White House. He just boarded Marine One. And then he said, "It's been an honor." Well, what an autocratic dictator fascist he is, right? All of the peacefulness didn't stop Jim Acosta from making one more final fascist dig.
He's almost leaving town like an autocrat, ousted from power, heading off into exile.
Right. Except exile is in sunny Florida, and the government flew him there, and he was an autocratic dictator because autocratic dictators don't allow themselves to be voted out. But other than that, Jim, it's exactly like what you said. The media's behavior over the past 4 years, culminating in their coverage today, has been mind-boggling and disgusting. For instance, last night I watched the president's farewell speech. I don't know if you saw it. It was hard to contain myself. I'm glad I didn't live in an apartment building because there was a lot of, oh my gosh, all the way through it. Trump went on to list the multiple accomplishments of his administration. Now, believe it or not, I don't have time tonight to play all of them in this show. In fact, this morning, I could only play a 9-minute clip of some of the accomplishments that he talked about last night. That's how many there were. The reason Trump felt obligated to list them was because the media never reported many of them. How many friends do you have that they said, wait a minute, there was a massive peace deal? Well, they didn't report them because for the last 4 years, they've been busy making up all kinds of crises and stories that weren't even close to real. Trump's taxes, oh, the worst ever. Russia, oh, the worst ever. Ukraine, my gosh, the worst ever. Stormy friggin' Daniels. I mean, I also don't have the stomach nor the time to list all of the media malpractice in a 1-hour show. And I'm sincere about that. But I don't have to, because you know as well as I do, it was infuriating and exhausting. I am tired from the last 4 years. I think people on both sides are. And I watched today, and I heard words that I really related to. Unity. Let's heal. Let's come together. And I really listened to the new president. And he kept calling to unite, but I kept thinking, okay, I want to. All day I've been thinking, I want to. What? Where is the bridge to unite? Where is the one strand we can unite on? I mean, we got the usual stuff. We're never going to unite on taxes or immigration or spending, that kind of stuff. We never, we always argued that out, but we could come back together. We're not going to unite on even the definition of terror. Remember, when they were in office last time, you could shoot up a mall, you could shoot up a fort or a military base, and they wouldn't call that domestic terror. They wouldn't even say the word Islamist. And now they're defining Trump voters as domestic terrorists. Now, I don't think we can unite on that. You see, in the past, what we yearn for is to unite on principles, because we could argue about a whole bunch of things as long as we all agreed that the press should be free. It shouldn't collude with the government or organizations, that we had the freedom of religion. I don't care what you believe. Don't tell my church what to do, and I won't tell your church what to do. We used to believe in freedom of speech. We used to recoil at the idea of a committee on un-American activities, some sort of a McCarthy hearing. We used to believe in things like you're allowed to protect yourself. Not only do we not agree on the amendments, we now no longer can agree that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. Where? Help me, seriously. Today, one of the first things the White House did was the 1776 Commission. They stopped it dead in its tracks and removed it from the internet. They said it was racist. Wait a minute. You guys weren't kneeling when you were singing the national anthem or giving the pledge. It's the first time that you've said America was great and here's the pledge and we're proud of the national anthem and our flag. The 1619 Project is not about the founding. It's bogus history. They admit that it's bogus history, and it paints all white people as racist. How do we unite there? You don't believe in the founding, yet when all eyes are on you, you sure talk a good game. Do you remember when I was talking to you about the war game that was done by the Transition Integrity Project? They ran all kinds of scenarios on what was going to happen during the election. Biden, in those scenarios, was the winner in 2 different war games. And the scenarios both ended with this quote, "The Democratic elected representatives team supported the Biden effort, but also began the process of preparing for investigation into Trump, his family, and his associates," end quote. All the world is but a stage. Let me say it like this. All the world is but a stage. It's better that way, isn't it? They're about to take McCarthyism, I fear, to a whole new level. The only question now is, who are they going to force people to rat on? Who are the communists in this one? Who's caught in their web? Will it be limited to Donald Trump or his family, or Donald Trump, his family, and his cabinet, or those people that worked with him, or maybe his allies? How about the people who donated? How about people who didn't like him like me and then did like him and supported and voted for him? Am I going to be on that list? How far does this go? And until you can tell your own party, knock it off, how do you expect this to be a uniting force? See, that word unity was used over and over in President Biden's speech, and it was a good speech. I just didn't believe he believed it. Here's a clip, basically the theme for the entire speech. Watch.
In each of these moments, enough of us have come together to carry all of us forward. And we can do that now. History, faith, and reason show the way of unity. We can see each other not as adversaries, but as neighbors.
I agree.
We can treat each other with dignity and respect.
Yes.
We can join forces, stop the shouting, and lower the temperature.
Yes.
For without unity, There is no peace, only bitterness and fury. No progress, only exhausting outrage. No nation, only a state of chaos. This is our historic moment of crisis and challenge, and unity is the path forward.
But tell me you disagree with a word of that, because I don't. I love that message. That was carefully crafted, and in a way, I believe he believes that. Because I believe those things, but I don't think he actually knows what's going on. That half the country says, wait a minute. You say I'm the problem, and now that you have the power, you want to shut me up. I say you're the problem, and I don't want to shut you up. See, the ultimate proof is in actions, not words. With the left, it is never about what they say. It's about what they do. The ends justify the means. And it's no secret that the left is pretty darn good at marketing. A lot of that is our own fault. Democrats won the culture war because we never showed up to fight it. We must fight the culture war because that spoke to America's heart. That's the way we feel. His speech was indeed uniting if you don't know and haven't been paying attention to what's really going on. If you support him, you heard everything you needed to hear, and it verified your worldview. But if you're one of the 74 million people that voted for Trump, what did you hear? Well, let me say what I didn't hear. I didn't hear any substance at all on how he plans pulling this off. Okay, all right. But I also didn't hear something really important. I didn't hear him actually reach out to people like you or me. When I've gotten things wrong, I went on the Glenn Beck apology tour. When I was trying to reach out for unity and to warn them not to do exactly what they did with Trump, I started with this. I got some things wrong. And I'm sorry that those things, and I'm working to change those things. I didn't hear anything like that from him or the left. And I want to believe him. Because we need to believe that is true, but only if it is true. It's kind of hard to get past all the Democrats lately that say that Trump supporters need to be deprogrammed. The actual silencing of voices or the calls to round people up. The truth of the matter is that 74 million Americans, unfortunately, can't define unity with the other side. And I don't think the other side can actually unify with us. Because the left, I think it means assimilation. It means domination. Sure, you can unify as long as you do exactly what we say. Just put your masks on, close your business, don't argue about it, and we're done, we're fine, until we tell you you're not fine. So what is this really all about? What do they want to do with this unity? Watch.
This is our historic moment of crisis and challenge, and unity is the path forward.
Okay, let's go to the moon, man. I'm ready. A historic moment of crisis and a challenge. And only complete unity can see us through. Okay, let's play along. Let's go for it. I want to do the moonshot. What are the crises? What are the challenges that we face?
A cry for racial justice, some 400 years in the making, moves us. The dream of justice for all will be deferred no longer. A cry for survival comes from the planet itself. A cry that can't be any more desperate or any more clear. And now, a rise of political extremism, white supremacy, domestic terrorism, that we must confront and we will defeat.
Domestic terrorism, white supremacy, racial justice, and climate justice. Really? This is the rallying cry to unify the country? How many people that voted for Trump have any of those issues in their top 5, top 10, top 20? How many people actually not only don't have them in their top 20, but actually are against some of those things, or they have problems with the way they're being dealt with? By the way, Democrats in polling show that climate justice is last in every poll they take with people who voted for him. Now listen, I want to make this really clear. I will honor and pray for the President of the United States no matter who sits at the Resolute desk. President Biden is our president, and his failure will be our failure. Now, he made it very clear that he will not demonize those who disagree with him or his policies, and I want to believe that, and I want to join him in that effort. But will you condemn those in your own party, sir, that are calling for conservatives to be deprogrammed and silenced? Will you put a halt to the conservative censorship? I heard nice words, but we're beyond words. Listen to another example of our crisis that Biden claims is a call for overwhelming unity.
And we must reject the culture in which facts themselves are manipulated and even manufactured.
Oh my, I can't, where do we go? They don't believe certain things because most people on the left haven't been told them because the mainstream media has been so incredibly dishonest. There's no context behind what he just said. What about the New York Post? It was censored for reporting a true story about his son, but he claimed it was false the whole time. The press claimed it was a Russian plant or a conspiracy theory. President Trump was completely deplatformed on social media. Parler was shut down merely for providing a space where people can have free speech and say things that I don't like either. This is now an environment where conservative outlets like Blaze TV have to have full-time people just to keep big tech from demonetizing and censoring all of our content. Unity is it's good, but it's also a powerful weapon. It's been used to do some incredible things, from the moon landing to the victory in 2 world wars. But here's a question. How many times has unity been used to take away freedom? FDR used it during the Great Depression to completely change the country, to round up the Japanese. Unity. LBJ used it to create the modern welfare state. George Bush used it to spy on Americans through the Patriot Act. How many rights have been taken away from people, everyday people, in the name of unity? How many people have lost their jobs or their business because we have to unify and agree or be called horrible names because we don't think closing the entire country down for almost a year is the right thing to do for coronavirus? Coronavirus, climate change, racial justice, and now right-wing extremists, all while shouting unity. We must unite, but on principles, those things that we used to have in common. But what are those principles? I'm sorry, but my opinions on coronavirus response are a little different than theirs. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I don't think the government should be able to tell a business owner that he no longer can provide for his family. My thoughts on climate change don't align. Yeah, I can read a thermometer. Yep, it's going up. But what's your plan? I don't agree with it. Tell me again about how Obama's green policies went. Billions wasted. I'm also not for racial justice. I'm for justice, equal justice. I don't care what color you are. I don't care where you came from. Equal, blind justice. And right-wing extremists, how's that even defined? Because over the past few years, everyone has had a different viewpoint than the left has been called a racist, a bigot, a fascist, and an extremist. So no. Today, as much as I want to unite, I don't know where we begin. Please, Mr. President, help us out. I think a little peaceful division is actually healthy. And until the left shows us that they're willing to be honest, that they will actually listen and consider what we are actually saying. I mean, Donald Trump reached out to Van frickin' Jones. Don't resort to ridicule and censorship. And if you do that, then everything we heard today will be proven for what it probably is, a great thing. Or is it just another left-wing distraction to keep the Overton window moving further and further to the left? Tonight, I pray for success for our country and our new president, but not necessarily for his policies. We can disagree on that. It's the same thing I do and say every 4 years. But we cannot let ourselves be distracted for what's to come over the next 4 years. There is far too much at stake.